Hello everyone. This video, as the title says, is about historical English in English second language classrooms. So back in my master's degree, I had to write a paper on it, and I absolutely love the subject. And I always thought that helps students memorize words, sentences, and especially constructions if they know where they come from. So I'm not only talking about false cognates or cognates or whatever other aspects you have in mind right now before I start the video. This is just an analysis on that paper, and I hope it helps you guys out there. So basically, I had to use this book. It appears right here as research. I love the book. It's great. And I have it here in my hands as well. So this book just says, gets the opinion of many scholars about how to teach HEL, and it gives great advice, but the ones I want to focus on are these. So I'm going to be showing all the names up here. So the introduction with Mary Hayes and Alison Burkett, they give great tips about it. Also, German handwriting and other things I learned to keep in my mind when teaching the history of English by John McWhorter. It's also great, and it goes on the list with philology theory and critical thinking through the history of the English language with Matthew Giancarlo, and with Green Trousdale talking about the using principles of construction grammar in the history of English. Also addressing emergency in a HEL classroom with William Kretschmar Jr. I'm sorry about that name. Dictionaries and the history of English. It's a very interesting article. So the book is full of these articles, all right? I'm gonna post the picture there anyway, and now you've probably seen it. But anyway, let's get down to it and let's talk about what are my thoughts over this great book. So my main approach is why students come about word Englishes, and they have to understand the different accents and different in the different environments that English came about. So the biggest, the two main Englishes in the world are still the British and the American. But more and more, I can see here in the country that I'm right now, Germany, that a lot of people go to Australia and go to New Zealand, and they get the culture there, and it's fascinating me how they come back even more Americanized with their accent. Very few Germans get to that great British accent that they think they have. Anyway, so the goal of my paper was to exactly do that. Was to contextualize to intermediate second language students of English a deeper knowledge of the many different Englishes around the world. Students are not taught the minuity of the English language. They are usually taught to learn by heart some features of the language and accommodate that with their ongoing understanding of it. So basically, I just went through that, and I thought, and I showed them, and I'm gonna put all the signs like how big English is, so they know where they're coming from, how many learners as a second language they get. I also talk about things that students must know before we enter a history of English class. So according to Natalie Gerber in the article Engaging Multimedia in the HEL Classroom, a blended course designed that introduces students to internal language systems and to the notion of external history, and which then connects the highlights of major changes in internal history to highlights of major changes in external history, with special emphasis on global Englishes today, should be the base to the studies of HEL. Teaching the basics of each language system, phonology, morphology, lexicon, syntax, semantics, is not an easy task. But limiting coverage of internal language changes to the highlights and taking a problem-based approach, inviting comparative engagement with historical and contemporary language debates while maximizing the use of new media to engage students in these debates, and focusing on the status and changing fortunes of English as a global language may help students engage in this course. And I'm just saying this course because she taught in college. But if you're really thinking about your own students in ESL, that's the main goal. So they're only gonna know why English is what it is around the world, why different accents and all do if they learned the history of the English language. So the basic of a system language, I tell them, So the main things that they should know are internal and external history, synchrony versus diachrony, content and structure, levels of change. They should know also corpus, no, conscious and unconscious variations in change, stability versus instability, dictionaries, the Indo-European tree, and then after the Indo-European tree, you come about one thing that fascinated me in one article was, why don't we take a break and not go straight to Old English and start taking the tales, the external history, which fascinates everyone. But let's go a little bit to early modern English. Early modern English, already sounds familiar enough, but not that much, as they will see the differences there, and there's a lot of history on that. There's the Industrial Revolution, there's the Victorian times with the authors that we can work about it, but just show the constructions, just show them what was changed. And after that change, just a little bit, just a tiny bit of Middle English, but just constructions. And then with some external, and then with a lot of external history, you go to old history, Old English. And once you go to Old English, then that's it. That you can do a chronology from there. But to entice your students to know why in the world it is what it is important to have an external history. In my opinion, this the main one is greater than talking about the Great Vowel Shift. So I just conclude the paper with the main point of this paper was to present a stimulating approach of HEL to ESL students. And that's basically it. That's just underline the main aspects of a language, start with early modern English, and then after a class or two on early modern English, just go straight to Old English. Even if you don't know how to do Old English, doesn't matter. There's a lot of videos out there. But present these students with the external history so they know what the words they're talking about. And teaching HEL is not a main concern for any ESL teacher. Most Koreans do not mention a single passage of it, and many students continually approach the English language as just as any subject taught in school. But second language learning is the base for the continued contact that one shall have with others in a globalized world. Once students identify that all languages have specific characteristics and learn how to identify those, it becomes easier to learn a third, fourth, and possibly a fifth language. I'm trying German as my fifth language. Jesus, I want to kill myself every time. As a result, while we can still apply ordinary terms and concepts of modern language study and linguistics to generate a well-aimed report of periods in HEL, the true tale of the language will be about recurrent emergence and re-emergence of lexical, phonological, and grammatical patterns of English out of the interaction of its speakers and eventuality of their history. So I hope you guys like the tips that I gave you, and I try my best on the next videos. Thanks, and bye.